the stars of the Jackson and McCoy podcast. Matt McCoy, our sports director. Stanley Jackson, former quarterback for The Ohio State University. Stanley, I got to get to it because there's an awful lot of churn this week about Wisconsin and losing the week coming into us. Walk back to when you were a player and you're on the field. Did it matter to you? Was it of import? Did the coaches talk to you about, hey, the team's hot coming in, the team just lost coming in? Was that of any import at all in your prep for the upcoming game?
No, not really, because it doesn't change anything in regards to, our schedule and our outlook on the season. One of the goals to start every season was to go undefeated, was to win a Big Ten championship. Now that changes a little bit. One of the goals that jumps in is to win the Eastern Division. So it doesn't change it whatsoever. You still want to beat Wisconsin. You want to protect, obviously, your home field. Deep down, maybe you're a little disappointed because you rather prefer them to come in to be undefeated, and you want to prove that you're a good team. That's the one thing that maybe the guys are disappointed about. Right now, Wisconsin has lost. They've shown that they've got a weakness, and so you're not going to be the first team to expose them. But outside of that, nothing else matters because the goal is to get into the playoff, and you can't do that losing this football game.
And then as the quarterback, there's plenty of churn, and I'm sure we'll get into it about the running backs that are playing. But as the quarterback, did you enter the game like, I just want to be the better quarterback, like I want to be statistically points and all that better than the guy on the other side of the line?
Joe, that's a great question because, technically you don't play the other quarterback, right? You're going out against Wisconsin's defense, and then your defense is going to go out against Jack Cohn. But you do want to have the better day. You want to go out there and prove every time, every Saturday, that you're the best quarterback on the field. And for Justin Fields, it's easy to do because he does have the best weapons. His offensive line is playing the best right now. So if he just relaxes and lets the game come to him, he'll be just fine.
You talk about quarterback statistics against Wisconsin. Joel, Stan has a love-hate relationship thinking back to his playing days against Wisconsin. Because, Stan, didn't you have your statistically best game against the Wisconsin Badgers, yet you were booed in Ohio Stadium that day? Is that right?
Yes, in regards to yards, completions, and rushing yards, I've had very good day, and I don't know what the fans were looking at that day, but I guess they wanted more Joe Germain that day.
Yeah, Joe came in. You always tell the story. Joe threw a hitch to Demetrius Stanley, went for a touchdown, and then they brought you back in, and they were upset that they brought you back in.
That's exactly right. And the reason why they brought me back in, at the time, they felt like I had a better command of the offense. We could run more plays, and Joe was lacking in some areas. And I had, again, an outstanding game. So
that's Ohio State fans for you, right?
You can't always trust the fan base to tell you exactly what's happening.
See,
Let's just leave it at that.
I feel like 7 games in, you guys are gelling up, but that right there, that seemed like a big wedge between you right there. That line of questioning,
I don't mean that as a wedge.
Kind of like whammo.
Stan has told me that story before about playing Wisconsin.
All right, stay right where you are. We got more with Jackson and McCoy coming up. I got to get traffic and weather on right now. And the stars of the Jackson and McCoy podcast are with me now, sports director Matt McCoy and former quarterback Stanley Jackson. So you go through that. It seems like our defense, Stanley's got to be getting ready for the running game of Wisconsin.
Yeah, the way you stop Wisconsin is you control Jonathan Taylor. As well as Jack Cohn has played, I'm not sure he can beat you, and he proved that last week against Illinois. So you stop Jonathan Taylor, you really shut down their offense. And I'm going to be honest, the challenge that Wisconsin has is not the fact that they don't have a good offensive line, that they don't have a good running back, and that they don't have good receivers. They have all of that. Their play calling is so basic, it's so vanilla, they're so conservative that it really plays into the hands of Ohio State's defense. And so I'm curious to see if they can block Chase Young because they did a great job against not Winovich, but against Willikis. But on top of that, their game plan really lends to what Ohio State does defensively, which should be just fine.
Stan, when you look at Wisconsin and what happened to them last weekend, were they exposed against Illinois? Are they overrated? Did we think too much of them? Or was it just a really bad game at a really bad time?
Probably a little bit of both. But the things that we thought about Wisconsin coming into the season, that's why so many people had, picked 5 or 6 teams to win the West. They had to replace 4 offensive linemen, had a lot of new faces defensively, a new quarterback. And so there was some question marks about how good they'd be. And I think some of that did show up. Remember, as good as their defense has been this year, having 4 shutouts, something that I don't think we've ever seen in college football through, 6 games, the best scoring offense they've played is Illinois, and they're only ranked 64th. So when you think about that a little bit, the question mark is, has their defense been challenged enough to really consider them one of the better defenses in the country? Because at the end of the game is where I was most disappointed about them. When their defense needed to get off the field when they had a 1-point lead, they couldn't do it. Illinois ran the ball right down the field to kick that field goal.
I got to ask you, if you look at the history of this game, dating back to the Braxton Miller throwing for the touchdown pass to Devin Smith game, what was that, 2011? When Ohio State and Wisconsin have played, most of the games have been decided by a touchdown or less, 2 in overtime. However, there's that aberration in there, 59-0 in the Big Ten championship game. That's the only one that's been a blowout. Are you expecting more of what we've seen traditionally, a close, tight game? Or I'm not saying 59-0, but do you think Ohio State wins comfortably? What's your feel at this stage?
Yeah, it's amazing that I feel this way, but I think the Buckeyes win comfortably. No one's been close enough to stop them for 4 quarters. They've got too many weapons, and defensively they're playing as good as anybody in the country. Jack Collin, first-year starter, coming into the horseshoe, he's going to have some issues. And so Wisconsin is a good football team. There's no question about that. But like everybody else that we face that are good football teams, look at where Cincinnati is. Indiana will be ranked next week. And no team can handle the onslaught of the Buckeyes, and I think it'll be a comfortable victory.
Okay, so you riff on that comfortable victory thing. It's got to be second quarter. I mean, the Buckeyes are so dominant in the second quarter. So will that be a tell? Like, you get to halftime, if they've got the lead comfortably there, you feel good, or if it's a little dicey, then it may go a little deeper into the game.
No, if we have the lead comfortably in the second quarter, then look out, it may be a runaway freight train. I think maybe Wisconsin can hang in there longer than most teams because they've got a great defensive staff and the team plays well. But eventually they're going to get wore out. So sometime, in the second half is I think where you'll see the breakout. We start to get away from them. But if it's early on, Joe, if the Buckeyes can score early on and stop them, it could be a repeat of the Big Ten championship game.
Okay, Jonathan Taylor is special. There's no doubt about it. But Joel and I were talking earlier this week that J.K. Dobbins just keeps doing what he's doing and doesn't get a lot of notoriety. I mean, he really doesn't. Whenever they talk Heisman at Ohio State right now, it's Justin Fields and even Chase Young. But he's 10 yards behind with fewer carries this season of what Jonathan Taylor has done. If you're J.K. Dobbins, is there motivation going into this game? Because all the talk about a Big Ten running back is the other guy. And no disrespect to him because he is phenomenal, 5,000 career yards. But I'm just wondering if there's an edge with J.K. Dobbins because he's going, quote-unquote, head-to-head, not playing against Jonathan Taylor. But kind of like Joel was asking you about statistics of the quarterback, is that in J.K. Dobbins' mind in this game against Wisconsin and Jonathan Taylor?
Yeah, I mean, of course there is. Again, back to the point you just made, you're facing 2 totally different defenses. But, now from a recruiting standpoint in the NFL, you want to prove that you're the best back in the country. The edge that Jonathan Taylor has right now is in touchdowns. He's got 15 rushing touchdowns, I believe 3 receiving touchdowns. And J.K. on the other hand only has 7 rushing. So there's a big edge there. But the reality is Jonathan Taylor is almost everything they have offensively, and there's so many different weapons that Ohio State has. J.K. is phenomenal. I think arguably the best back in the country. You're splitting hairs when you look at both of these guys and the skill sets they have. But anytime you get an opportunity to be on the field with another highly ranked back, you want to prove that you're the best. The thing that I love about it, I love the fact that he's under the radar and nobody's talking about him because I think it continues to keep a chip on his shoulder and he continues to play hard.
Yeah, he's playing hard. He's going to have to play really hard this week because Wisconsin, you feel like maybe there's a wrinkle or two, like let's really pop a couple big ones early to separate?
Well, I don't know if you can pop big ones because the defense is pretty sound. I think what happens is similar to what Illinois did. You'll get big ones eventually, right? I mean, they didn't start the game and break big ones because offensively Illinois wasn't great. Let's be honest about that. They were phenomenal on that last drive, but it wasn't like they dominated them throughout. They just got a couple of big plays. The difference is Illinois was the 64th ranked scoring offense in the country, and Ohio State's in the top 5 in every offensive category in the country, with the exception of passing. I think we're like 27. And so Wisconsin hadn't seen anything like this. I mean, I think arguably the best offense outside of that may be Michigan, and we all feel like Michigan's offense is underachieving this year. So this is a different animal. This is not what they faced. This young linebacker group, they're going to be on their heels the whole game. And as soon as you feel like you've got Ohio State corralled, boom, J.K. gets shot out of a cannon, or Justin, breaks a couple tackles on third down to complete a ball, and then the floodgate opens up. So as good as this defense is, they haven't seen an animal like this.
Do you worry about what? I guess you can't worry about what the national narrative is going to be. I was saying to Joel, it feels to me like this is because Wisconsin lost. It's a no-win situation for Ohio State.
Yep.
If they win big, like you think that they're going to win by a couple, 3 touchdowns, whatever, everybody's going to say, well, Wisconsin lost last week to Illinois. They've been exposed. They're really not very good. If they lose, of course that's bad. But even if they win a close game, they're going to say, see, Ohio State hadn't played anybody. Wisconsin just lost to Illinois. I still don't know how good Ohio State is. Right. Do you know what I'm saying, Stan? I don't know that. I guess you just got to keep doing what you're doing and let the chips fall where they may. But nationally, I'm interested to see what the reaction is to this game, however it turns out.
Well, you know what the reaction is going to be, right? I mean, the reaction is going to try to diminish whatever Ohio State does. Remember, it's the same thing happened against Cincinnati. I mean, people felt like they were a pretty good football team coming in. Then after Ohio State beat them, everybody said they're a bad team. Well, we're finding out that they're actually a really good football team.
Yes, they are.
Top 25. Indiana, we found out that they're a really good football team. And so Ohio State just has to handle business. Now, the reality is the margin of error has shrunk because you could have got away with a close loss here, won the rest of your games, then beat Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game and still kind of got in. Now that might not be the case because of Wisconsin's loss. And then the second loss really hurts them and puts them out of the top 15, probably ranked 24th. And so it hurts the strength of schedule a little bit. But if you handle business and just win the rest of your games right now, you're in good shape. I hear a lot of people clamoring about Clemson's strength of schedule, and it's not even close to where Ohio State is. Right now, you look at the top 16, Ohio State has by far the toughest strength of schedule, and that's before they play Wisconsin.
Good stuff. You want to hear more? Podcast page. Watch for it. Jackson and McCoy. They'll drop later today, powered by Germain Toyota on News Radio 610 WTVN.com. Guys, thanks.